1 million children go missing in India every year. They're often being sold into slavery as part of a religious tradition. This is just one travesty that Shaneen Clarke is on a mission to eradicate. Take a look.
Shaneen Clarke is from a Hindu Punjabi background. At age 14, she was engaged through an arranged marriage. She became a Christian and got out of the engagement. However, a few years later, she married and ended up in an abusive relationship. Now, Shaneen has put the past behind her and helps people reach their full potential. She holds events at London's top venues, where dignitaries like Tony Blair, Princess Michael of Kent, and former Member of Parliament Jonathan Aitken have attended. Since 2010, she's been reaching out to people in slums, schools, and churches in India and in other parts of the world.
And please welcome back to the 700 Club, Shaneen Clarke. Shaneen, it's so great to see you.
Oh, it's great to be back.
Well, let's start with a shocking statistic, Shaneen. 1 million children missing in India. What's that about?
Well, it's happening all over the world, but India is, yes, definitely a shocking time right now. There's about 52% of women in India who think it's okay to be abused.
Oh, my goodness.
12% of girls, young babies, go missing at birth. So, yes, there's a lot going on in India, and
yeah. Well, how are you helping fight for children and families in India?
Well, last year we launched the first National Leaders Conference. We had 122 states come together, which is absolutely amazing. So we addressed social justice, family and leadership life. We addressed Alpha, using it as a tool for transformation, and really dealing with people at the grassroots so that people in the country as leaders could be empowered and be effective. So it's not just us going in and prepping them up and giving them the motivation, but the leaders in the country are empowered to make a difference.
Shaneen, you have a fascinating history. You were nearly forced into an arranged marriage at the age of 14 by your well-meaning Indian parents because they didn't want you to end up marrying an Englishman. Is that right?
Yes.
How did you escape?
Well, I got saved. Now, how did I escape?
My parents committed suicide. You were so distraught.
I was distraught. Well, I met Jesus at the age of 14, and I had quite a radical transformation. And as a result of that, I wanted to be an evangelist. And I said to my father, Dad, send me to the States. I'm going to go to Rhema Bible College or one of the schools in London. And he said, no way, get married. And he encouraged me to get married at the age of 17. Of course, you know, Wendy, that was really hopeful. Having gone through that, I went to India and was able to share my story with the women, and they could relate to my experience.
So you did get married at the age of 17, and it was not a good marriage.
Sadly, it wasn't, no. And thank God, God's a God of the second chance. And today I'm married.
To an Englishman.
To an Englishman, which was what the family always feared, you know, because they're so caught up with face. And the culture is so strong, they're afraid that
a white Englishman, we should
say.
To
a white Englishman, a real local London boy. Yes, and he's a real blessing in my life. So.
Absolutely. Well, how has your experience, you know, dealing with that kind of trauma and heartache at such a young age and going through an abusive marriage, how does that help you minister to the women that you come in contact with now?
Well, you know, I think every girl has a dream, and I certainly had one, and it was shattered at a very young age. But it was always inside of me, and you feel like you've aborted it. And I think to having gone through pain and fulfilling the dream and the call of God upon my life, and I'm able to share that with women, share with the culture and say, you can do it too. You know, and, you know, it is a time in the world today that I'm finding that the common factor, whether it's India, Romania, or Europe, America, is family life. You know, the crisis, the breakdown that we have in family today, Wendy. You know, today we've got the banking system that's gone down, government, the politicians, the education, you know, family breakdown, and people have generally lost trust.
Yeah. Now, you travel all the time. Another country that's really near and dear to your heart is Romania. Tell us, what are you doing there?
Romania was amazing. I was invited to speak for 3 nights at the national conference there. We had 6 nations that came together. One of them was Russia. Of course, I've never experienced women with all the head covering and sitting there quite tight. It was wonderful. What happened? We experienced a real manifestation of God's presence. It was almost a revival that broke down. I mean, these women were desperately seeking to be released and freed. And it was really, the theme was about preparing for a battle, which is quite shocking, but it was a wonderful theme. It worked well. We saw people being healed, touched, delivered, transformations. And the last day, they were dancing and, you know...
In Romania,
and
you don't think of that happening in Romania, but in your travels, are you seeing signs of revival, or is it like just pockets here and there?
I'm seeing the desire for revival and experiencing God's power wherever we go in. I mean, to see transformations and lives, you know, being healed and touched. But I think the desire of the church certainly is building up. You know, people know that we're in a devastating situation. You know, Eastern Europe, you know, has been suppressed for years, and to go and impact the nation nationally. And now they've invited me to go back and do a leaders' conference. I didn't think I'd be doing a lot more leaders' conferences, but it was, they said it was revival for them. You know, they've never seen such a, you know, manifestation of God's presence there.
Well, are you still reaching out to the rich and famous in London and in other parts?
I am, but it hasn't been the main focus because I've been going internationally and traveling so much in recent months. And next year, again, we're traveling across Europe, back to South Africa, India, and wherever the Lord opens the doors. But, you know, today I just sense that, you know, we have to have a responsibility, and our response at this time is the key. You know, I never forget what Winston Churchill said. He said, you know, the price of greatness is responsibility. And I think as a body of Christ, as people today, we have a great responsibility. And
didn't he also say, never, never, never give up? Was that Winston
certainly
Churchill?
did. He went on and on. Can you imagine? I can just imagine Winston Churchill just saying, never, never give up. Yes.
Well, it's so delightful to have you back on this show, Shaneen, and we're so excited about your ministry and everything that's happening in India and Romania.